There is nobody that lives at Royal anymore. Royal's heyday's kind of come and gone.
Nature has its way of taking it back if you let it go. And it does quite an effective job over time. It takes a while.
Royal, West Virginia was a coal town that supported a coal mine and that opened up in 1891 in Raleigh County. As a matter of fact, it was Raleigh County, West Virginia's very first coal mine. Royal's history is kind of interesting as far as the Industrial Revolution goes. You know, it was founded by a man who was born in Scotland, emigrated to the United States in the 1860s and 1870 with his family, and eventually in the 1890s he was able to open up his own coal mine, and then he opened up another coal mine and so on until he retired in Charleston. It's kind of a great story here in West Virginia history that a man from, born in Europe, could come to West Virginia and was given the opportunities, and with a little hard work and some ingenuity, made his success here in the state during the Industrial Revolution. Well, we'll walk down here and take a look at an old stone building, which is a prominent feature here among the ruins of the old town of Royal. Up here on my right, you can see this structure here that's still yet standing, part of the old Royal Mine Works. The traditional coal tipple would have been way over here on my left, and then there would have been a series of buildings in here that were in support of the tipple, to include office buildings and powder houses and pump houses and cap houses and those types of structures. Got some stone remnants here of part of the old mine works associated with that tipple system and the associated structures. I guess the interesting thing about these ruins here that I've been pointing out is the slanted roof up here that's canted in one direction. And then the other thing that strikes me is the size of the boulders here. We're looking at one of the great features of the Royal Mine site, some of the remains that are left of the Royal Mine Works, and it is this very nice stone wall. The town of Royal was full of Scottish folks that emigrated to West Virginia from Scotland in the 1860s, and these Scottish folks brought with them, they were stonemasons by trade, and they brought with them their masonry skills. Some of the outstanding features of it are the fact that it's dry laid. There's not any concrete or mortar, holding these big stone blocks together. So it's a dry laid wall, and if you look, you can see where it's been chinked with the smaller stones to help fill up the gaps. Just to look at this wall still standing here, probably over 100 years old, and the high quality degree of workmanship that went into it, I certainly believe, that this wall reflects that Scottish, the stonemasonry tradition. This is the remains of what's left of the old Royal Cemetery. It was established in about 1890, and coal miners and descendants of the Royal Coal Mine Works, they're buried here. There's several different kinds of graves here in the cemetery. Some grave sites like this one actually have a gravestone that you can read and has a date on it. Other graves here in the cemetery are just very simple in nature and consist of sandstone or flagstone slabs. This cemetery had to be moved several times. The first version of the cemetery was on the banks of the New River, and the account goes that the cemetery was too close to the river and that the New River actually flooded it during periods of high water. The cemetery was moved to higher ground, and at that time the account said that it wasn't quite high enough and had to be moved again. And the cemetery that we're standing in right now is actually the third version of the Royal Cemetery after having been moved to avoid the flooding. We have tried to count the depressions and the headstones and the footstones, and we've come up with a number between 30 and 40.
James Kay and his brother-in-law, James Lang, built Royal, West Virginia, and I think Royal is one of the most fascinating towns in West Virginia as coal towns. The reason to me it's fascinating is that the coal was on one side of the river and the railroad was on the other side of the river. So you got a problem. How do you get the coal out of the ground and across the river?
Mr. Kay, in his development of the Royal coal mine, came up with a system of a cable haulage system.
And so they built an aerial tramway that stretched from the mine all the way down the mountain and coming down stanchions, of course, that they built to hold these cables up in the air, and then all the way across New River. And the span across New River from stanchion to stanchion was 665 feet between the two stanchions across New River.
It was a very ingenious way of getting coal. Is very unique to the New River coal fields. As far as I know, it really was the only coal mine in the New River Gorge that delivered coal to the railroad through a cable bucket haulage system across New River. Yeah, I think that the people who lived in Royal during the 1920s, I think they enjoyed relative prosperity. Coal mining is a very labor-intensive business. It's very hard physically, but I think that with steady work and suitable places to live, I think that as far as as coal towns go, they did pretty good at Royal. Visitors to Royal can now expect, to find stonework, stone ruins, and iron artifacts laying about on the ground, and old road traces. But, it's a site like a lot of the abandoned coal sites in the New River Gorge where, nature's trying to reclaim it.